I'd now like to welcome via teleconference Ms. Christine Donaldson, Ms. Sylvia Asusaar and Ms. Marion Skeen. Can I just confirm we have each of the three witnesses online? If you could just identify yourself by name, please.
Yeah, I'm here, Sylvia Asusaar.
Yes, I'm here, Christine Donaldson.
We have Ms. Skeen on the line. Okay. Hopefully we can get Ms. Skeen soon. I'd like to thank you both for appearing before the committee today. As you're participating via teleconference, could I ask you to please speak clearly into your device and identify yourself each time you speak to assist with the recording and broadcast of these proceedings. I'd like to invite you to make a brief opening statement should you wish to do so, and after that I'll be inviting committee members to ask you questions.
What happened then? I did.
Oh, I don't even want to go. Then I don't get on text back.
Sylvia, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, if you like, go, Chris. Or did you want me to go first? It's up to you, Christine.
I don't know.
All right. I'll take it away.
All right, no worries, Sylvia.
Okay, so I'm Sylvia from obviously Kalgoorlie. I'm a card participant in the region. I've been a card participant for the entirety of the trial in Kalgoorlie. I'm also I'm a single parent. I'm a carer. I'm a payment nominee. I'm also a admin on the No Cashless Card page in the Kalgoorlie. So I've seen and heard quite a lot about the card and people's stories. Myself, it's caused up to $12,000 damage with financial debt I now have. My family has gone through many problems trying to pay rents, car payments, and then there's just the effect on the community. There was no community consultation. As far as any sort of community consultation, I did attend a meeting towards the very start before they rolled the card out, and it was through GIFSA organisation. And it wasn't a consultation. It was telling us how this card was going to play out in our lives. And to that meeting, it was a lot of lies. We were told that as a payment nominee for the people we were caring for, that they wouldn't be affected. So there's a huge portion of the community that's really angry and feels lied to, and just as in fact the community just feels like there's certain issues in Kalgoorlie that the community was dealing with when the card was introduced, and I believe that was taken and used as the card was used as a bit of a beating stick, and it really divided the community. There's been so much going wrong with it. It's really, it just really poorly affected people's lives.
Thank you. I'm not sure if we've got our third witness on the phone, or if anyone else would like to make an opening statement.
Yes, it's Christine Donaldson here. First of all, I pay respect to the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on today, the Ngunnawal people. And I also want to say thank you for the invitation to attend the Senate inquiry on the subject of the cashless debit card repeal. I am an elder of the Wangatha-Ngadu people in the Goldfields region of Western Australia, and I fully support the amendment bill and agree that the card needs to be abolished. I was forced onto this card because I lived in the trial region. I had to give up my employment because I had to be a carer for my partner, unknown to me that I was going to be put on the injury card. This card is a tool against my people because we are labelled and judged. It controls our financial management. It removes our people's independence and responsibilities. There was no consultation with the targeted peoples, and I'm saying us Aboriginals. There was no information services, no optional input to say, you know, it's good or bad, or we want it or we don't. The card has increased crime, racism, elder abuse, alcohol and drug abuse, self-harming, just to name a few. I feel stripped of my rights, and I feel like that we're going back to ration days and being controlled to say how we can spend our money. Personally, I haven't been able to buy at markets and Facebook, buy and sell, because I'm used to having cash. I've been to Woolies and had declined transactions, make me feel shame. I can't give my grandchildren money for birthdays, chores, rewards. Rent gets debited from Inju, but Inju failed to pay the arrears, pay the rent, so you end up getting a letter from the housing to say you're $800 in arrears. The kangaroo, we Aboriginal people like to buy kangaroo meat and tails. We haven't got access to cars and bullets and what have you. So the only shop that was selling and that was fresh kangaroo meat and tails, they only accepted cash. And then the butcher shop, they took it on and, you know, probably competition. They sell frozen tail, but it costs $30 for one tail. That's the minimum. The cadging, the humbugging, begging, that hasn't stopped. People, you know, they go talk about it on Facebook, social media, saying it's still happening. I thought the cashless card was supposed to decrease these things. You know, stop the people buying grog and wasting their money, being able to buy food, but there's still hunger and poverty out there. The homelessness has increased. People are forever losing their Inju card, then they've got to go and get another one, and, you know, it's just on and on. It's a well-known fact that the Shire people, when they know that any dignitaries are coming, they take our blackfellas and transport them back to homelands, just to show that we don't have any problems with homelessness or drunks, etc. And so they'll arrange transport for our people to go back to their homelands. These people don't want to stay here. They want to go home to their homes too. So, you know, where's that service today? The card has not prevented people from getting drunk, even though this was the primary goal of rolling out the card. It is destroying Aboriginal people. And not only them, it's also disadvantaged whites. Not everyone is a drunk, druggie or gambler, whether you are Aboriginal or non-Aboriginal. But you get put in this category. If you're on Inju, you have problems. People have put comments on the social media in relation to Lenore and Laverton Shires. So I contacted those people, and this is from their areas. The community members have told me that all the people in Aboriginal in Laverton, they want to stay on the card. I have a family member who lived there for over 16 years. They told me that there's over 20 households have said they don't want this card. So there was no consultation between the Shire and the community at all. And they were told that when they hear of a meeting, the Aboriginal people hear of a meeting, they'll walk into that meeting. There's only Kiwis and non-Aboriginal sitting at the table, and when the blackfella walk in, the meeting's closed. So, you know, they're sitting around talking about Aboriginal people's problems and thinking that they can solve them. There was a petition at the shop for people to sign to keep the Inju card, but only high society people signed this. So, there wasn't many people signing that card. This is in the Laverton Shire. It hasn't improved the behaviours because, sadly, Laverton is a dying community because, you know, there's no services about, and there's no opportunities for employment at the shops or whatever. So they just drink and, you know, yeah. one of the guys told me that he had saved money on the Enquiry card, and he wanted to buy a car, but he couldn't buy it because the money was on Enquiry. So he had to get permission from Enquiry, and that would have taken, a mountain of paperwork and trying to get permission to spend his money. He said he missed the opportunity anyway, because you can't transfer $3,000 overnight. So the couple who lived in the town have witnessed the destruction of what the card has done to the local community people. And it affects black and white people. So that was the Laverton people were telling me about. In the Leonora mob, there's no consultations, only by the member of parliament. They go up there to visit, and only service providers are invited. There's no grassroots people, and that seemed to be a common problem, that when people come to town, they don't get to speak to the real people that have the experiences. Since the Enquiry has come to Leonora, the crime has increased, the elder abuse is happening more, drugs are still there, alcohol, people are constantly drunk all hours of the day. No. Hello? Sorry?
Please continue. I think we may have had our third witness join, Ms. Skeen. Is that correct?
No, I'm actually Louise swapping phones. But I'm still here.
All right. So
good to still have you, Senator Pratt. Apologies, Ms. Donaldson. If you'd like to finish your statement, and then we'll go to questions.
All right. And the big shop there, it sells supposed to sell. It sells all the goods and that, but most of the time all the meat is smelly. So the other option is to go to the local pub to buy a meal, but the Enquiry rejects the card because it sells alcohol. So they can't buy, a meal out, even though they don't drink. So the people are saying that they want consultations with the local people in the town, not service providers, because when they go home, when the service providers go home, that's when the events start to happen. And it's after hours, not during office hours. They would like to have the CDC reintroduced and no income management to be forced onto members. So, yeah. The other thing is to have a person in the area to advocate for individual people who have English as their second language or intimidated by bureaucracy people, and so that's my opening statement.
Thank you, Ms. Donaldson. I appreciate both of those opening statements. I've got some questions from Senator Pratt.
Thank you very much, Chair. Can I ask, please, thank you both for your evidence today. What has the card meant in terms of a kind of them and us attitude in the communities that you live in? You've both touched on that. That can't be a very healthy dynamic in the local community.
Asusaar speaking here. So obviously I speak more, I guess, my communications has been, I guess, a lot greater with people with disabilities because I'm a carer myself. And there's a huge divide. Like the minute you pull the card out, it's like telling everyone how much money you've got. I mean, you might as well just give them a roundabout figure because they're going to calculate if you're on a carer's payment. They don't care. You're just on a payment and you're put into a class. I mean, I remember one interaction, I think it was in the first year the card rolled out, and there was questions on a public forum about the local fair that was coming to town. And I believe a card participant asked if there was going to be FPOS facilities available so that they could, their family could participate. And so many of the comments were, well, you shouldn't be going to a fair. You shouldn't be doing that. Countless times I've got onto a community page and had to defend families or someone getting on there just for asking a simple question, like you're immediately called a dole bludger. It's just an immediate giveaway. And there is no place to ask your private questions. We were given these cards. I mean, in Kalgoorlie, for example, we weren't even given an Inju office that hung around for more than a year. Up until last Monday, I attended a meeting at the Jobs Hub, which is absolutely a great initiative for the town. But it shouldn't be just about Inju. Inju is irrelevant. It's done nothing. But programs like the Job Hub, they have improved the community, and they will. I walked in there and I saw a young girl smiling ear to ear because she got a licence. That is what the community needs, and not a division, basically. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with that, Sylvia. We feel the same way with our Aboriginal community, that it's them and us, and it's the labelling and the judgment that is detrimental to us. It disempowers us.
Can I ask, in Laverton, other than the CDC, who do people bank with, and are they, what access to good banking services do you have, or is that something that needs to be improved?
I don't think that there's a bank there at all. They just used, there's probably an ATM in the pub. So Inju wouldn't be able to be used in there. That wasn't a concern in relation to, having banking issues. It was mainly the CDC being forced upon them without consultation.
And how might we in Kalgoorlie use the Jobs Hub positively to help people and provide advice if they're having banking issues in coming off the card? Is that a good?
Sorry, this is Sylvia speaking again. I don't think that's what the Job Hub entails. I think it's more about trying to get people connected to work and the ability to get to work. But even so, at the moment, there's so much misinformation going around town, even to this day. At Centrelink, they're telling people, because we have no Inju office, people are being told that the Jobs Hub can sort out their problems that they're having with Inju. So there isn't a place. There isn't a place to necessarily even, so there, like I said, there's just so many lack of facilities, and I mean that's exactly why I joined No Cashless Card and wanted to help as an admin, because it was the only place I could get information. It was the only place who was willing to listen, and the only place who directed you to help. And like I said, and it's had nothing to do with the government. There's just people, Amanda and Catherine, who cared enough to educate people on just how to deal with this system that was dumped on us.
Yes, and can I add to that? I know that our Aboriginal people are very diverse. So we have the homeless ones, we have people who are upstanding citizens, and so there's, a range of people. Now, you can't tell me that, one guy off the street going to go into the Job Hub and ask for help. No way. It needs to be culturally appropriate with someone that they know and trust. Sometimes they don't even go to Bega Medical Service because there's a stigma that if they go in there, I'm just thinking in relation to pregnancies and, little things that other people don't take, that other people take for granted. Mental health and stuff like that. They know
so
that.
Who are the trusted services or cultural groups that government needs to look to and resource to work with us on this?
Well, the starting place would be a hospital that they have the sad thing about it is people get in there and feather their own nests. and forget about the little black fella in the bush that's sitting back in the cab. Whereas, you know, we did have a lovely lady who used to be working at the hospital. She could speak language, and she used to visit the outskirts of Kalgoorlie-Boulder daily to find out who was sick and whatever, you know. So
where was she from?
She's from Kalgoorlie, but she's left
did she work for someone, or was she volunteering, or?
No, she used to work at the hospital.
Right, so she was part of the hospital outreach. So that's really about connecting state services into those supports. The federal government's talking to as well.
Sorry, if you put notices up in medical centres and shopping centres and stuff like that, or even Kalgoorlie Miner, to say that you are wanting a meeting, word of mouth spreads.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Rice.
Thanks, Chair. And look, thank you very much, Ms Donaldson and Ms Asusaar, for your evidence. It's been really important evidence for us to hear. Ms Donaldson, I'm really disturbed by the evidence that you've given about basically the government not running a fair process in terms of evaluation of the benefits of, or the problems of, the cashless debit card. We heard from the Kalgoorlie-Boulder Council last week, who were claiming that there had been a decrease in crime. And when I asked them what evidence they had of that, they were quoting a survey that was done by the Chamber of Commerce. Would you like to just respond to that, given that your evidence is, in fact, there's been an increase in crime? You said increase in crime, in racism, and elder abuse, and alcohol and drug abuse.
Yes, I'll respond. In my views, what I've witnessed is people can't get cash for their, habits, so they will do crime to get their drink, get their drug, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, so...
This is Sylvia. Could I add a bit to that? I know the question was directed to Christine.
Yes,
but
no.
The claims from the city of Kalgoorlie-Boulder, look, when the card was even rolled out, we heard all sorts of fantastic stories about how there was this massive reduction in crime in Kalgoorlie. What I think what people failed to understand was at that same time they rolled out mounted police, they rolled out a new street patrol, they rolled out police buses in the main streets of both Boulder and Kalgoorlie that moved around efficiently. The police presence was huge, and then, like I said, and then there's been, like I said, it's all smoke and mirrors. Underneath it, there's been a reduction in crime because people have got sick of reporting it. That's what it boils down to. You ask most members of the community, they're so tired. The only reduction has been the fact that they're sick of calling.
And there's vigilante groups out there that want to come and run over our kids and, those sort of things that are happening. And, of course, the survey would have been taken by upper-class citizens, not the grassroots people that it affects.
Did you know anything about this survey from the Chamber of Commerce that claimed that things had improved dramatically and that it was going to be a disaster if the cashless debit card was scrapped?
No, I didn't. I didn't know that survey was out and about. But, they don't ask the right people. That's the problem.
Yes. Been made aware of a survey either. And I'm closely follow most of the cashless card related things, and I haven't been made aware of a survey.
Yes, I mean, I asked in their submission, the council said that this was their perception that things had improved and crime had decreased, and that people had told them this. But when I asked them whether they had done any surveys themselves, they hadn't, and it was all just based upon this Chamber of Commerce survey that they didn't have the details from. They're going to give us the details. Ms Donaldson, the other thing I was really concerned about and to hear in your what you told us before was where you said that, where the Shire knows big issues are coming, they transport people back to their homelands. Can you give us more details about that?
Yes, I can. I was actually working at Bega, that's our Aboriginal Health Services in Kalgoorlie. Excuse me. And there was a notice and lots of meetings being held because we were getting, I think it might have been Rick Wilson or somebody, it wouldn't have been Rick Wilson, sorry, it would have been somebody from the Liberal government coming to visit Kalgoorlie. So they had a service provider that's connected to the police rally around to all the service provider or all the Aboriginal agency to get all our people together, find out where they were hanging out to get them back to either Warburton or Junjunjara. That's our two outlying communities that visit us here in Kalgoorlie-Boulder. And it also happened when it was COVID. So we know that what the Shire did was to put on a show to say we don't have an Aboriginal problem, but it's there because the system has failed them.
This is Sylvia speaking again. It's quite a what Christine is saying is quite a well-known fact in our community. We've all seen it being done. Any time a Prime Minister visits, it suddenly becomes this magical place to live. It's really crazy.
And so they basically provide transport and encourage people to travel away from Kalgoorlie before these visits.
Yes. And, like our people are on a revolving door. They come to Kalgoorlie-Boulder for funerals or medical reasons, and the poor buggers get, they end up getting stuck because there's no transport back home. PATS won't pay them back home to get on the plane, even though they come down by PATS. They won't pay them to go back home because it's too costly. But we know that the Shire can provide transport back to our people's homelands. They don't want to be here. They want to go home.
Yes, so they'd like to go home, but it's only when it suits the Shire that transport's provided to remove them from town.
Absolutely.
My final question.
Sorry, I'd just like to add to that is part of the reason why they say that there's been a reduction in crime, because every time that they want to make it look great, it's convenient to ship them out. But yet, I really don't understand, just as a basic human right, that even for the people who live through Menzies, Laverton, Leonora, out to Ginninderra and Warburton, why isn't there a regular bus service for these people to obtain medical services and clothing and food, and just even to be able to connect with banking services and any help? How are these people supposed to get to town if there isn't at least a regular service for them for transport? It just doesn't make sense. And then we in town complain that there's an antisocial problem and they're hanging around the streets. Well, of course they are. There is no way for them to get home. So, yeah.
Sounds sensible to me. Look, finally, I know we're about to wrap, but Ms. Donaldson, you also mentioned evidence of when Aboriginal people sort of entering meetings when they're discussing Aboriginal people, that then the meetings were closed. Have you got any more details about that? Because that's also a really disturbing thing for us to learn about.
Yes, and this one here happens in Laverton. I'm not aware of the ones in Kalgoorlie because only, but I'll go back to the Laverton one first. The people who told me about that, they are well-respected citizens in the town. And when they hear of a meeting, so, and it's mostly held at the Aboriginal Corporation or the art gallery or it's a well-known place for Aboriginal people to go and have a yarn about things, CDP and stuff like that. But when they walk in, the person will just shut the book and say meeting closed. Oh, we just closed the meeting finished, and it's just not on.
Absolutely.
And in Kalgoorlie, we've got.
Can you give me the details? I mean, what type of meetings are we talking about?
They didn't explain that to me, but I'm assuming that it would be about the antisocial behaviour and the domestic violence and the crime, all the things that just only happen to Aboriginal people. Only Aboriginal people do it.
Look, if you had any further information just with the details of that, I think that would be would be good to get that information, because that, again, in terms of what people are saying, the problem is, and the potential solutions, and with abolishing the cashless debit card and the problems with evaluating it, having that evidence would be really valuable if you're able to get it to the committee.
Yes, I'll certainly ring the family up. And who do I send it to?
We could be the Secretariat can be in touch with you to give you an email address to send it to.
Awesome. And I just want to add to this, all my years within within my work history, we have always made the CEOs, and because we Aboriginal liaison officers, and our skills and our language skills, everything like that, make everybody feel good, that they end up being, that they take all the glory. We don't want the glory. We want our people to be helped.
Yeah. Thanks very much. Thanks, Ms. Donaldson and Ms. Asusaar. Thanks, Chair.
Senator Nampijinpa-Price.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. I just wanted some clarification around, it was brought up earlier about the debt, the problem with debt. And I just want a bit of clarification around how that eventuates. Is it around, whether it's around direct debits being set up with accounts, and if money is not there for that direct debit to be taken, and how that might be affected, whether it's through just a regular bank account with welfare in that account, or through the CDC system.
With the rent, it gets paid to Inju, who then have to have the link with Department of Housing. So it's the Inju and housing setup.
This is Sylvia speaking again. I'm not sure about Christine, but myself, the reason I've faced the debt that I'm in now is simply just not being able to access money that was available to me to buy a car. And then Inju was always sort of suggesting, well, then you can go to Money 3, that, you might be able to get a loan to get a car. Or if you can't buy something through Inju, because they won't release cash, so if you wanted to buy a cheap fridge, they're directing you to Afterpay, they're directing you to Zip Pay instead of releasing funds that are already available. So then it's not so much about, basically you're getting into finance. You can't afford to pay back in the first place. Basically, you're living above your means because you can't access cash that's in your account. So, that's how the debts are accumulating. And even to try and fix the problem is, it's a matter of swapping accounts, basically, and paying the same way you'd be trying to chip away at it with Inju, I guess.
Okay, so it's accessing sort of things like Afterpay, multiple sort of things like that, pay to purchase things and pay later. Along those sorts of lines, is that the reasoning behind the debt? But
I know I've heard from a lot of other people, it's about not being able to pay their rent and not actually being aware that their rent's not being paid. And so, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to get into trouble on this indue system. Like I said, I've heard people, you know, weren't having their car insurance paid, so they were driving around uninsured cars, and they weren't made aware until, you know, it had relapsed, and, you know, they rang up and oh, you're not even insured. So, I mean, and then, you know, you've obviously got your fees that accumulate if you're missing payments. So, I mean, a lot of it is, yeah, there's a lot of different ways to get debt with indue.
Okay, if there was better sort of education, understanding, and those sorts of services alongside, would that have been more helpful, do you think?
Ability that being able to access money that was, you know, is sitting in our accounts, but we couldn't touch it to buy something off Facebook cheaply. And then you go through the embarrassing process of applying, and you're told no. And you said, well, you sort of say to people on India, well, how am I supposed to keep, you know, food cold in my fridge for my children? And they turn around and say, well, you've got the option of Afterpay. Here's your quick fix. It's like, you know, you're dangling a carrot in front of desperate people and then going, oh, oops, you've got into debt. You know, it's you know, when you're desperate, you'll do what you can to provide for your family. And this is just pushing people to that edge. So it needs to go. You know, it's before you know, it causes further damage.
Sorry, just to clarify, was that advice provided by Indue to access things like Afterpay?
It has, yes. It's quite a known fact that, yes, a lot of people have been told to access access Afterpay or Zip Pays. And like myself, but even trying to get a car, it was told, you know, well, you could, you know, we don't really want to release this money. And the process to even get a large sum released was ridiculous. I mean, they want the owner to provide registration papers for a car you haven't purchased yet. So, you know, the requirements to release that cash were impossible. So therefore, you're sort of left in a situation like I was with no car and 4 children, a child with a disability who just had a cochlear implant, and you're left going, well, I need a car. So this, you know, that's my only option at this point, if you know what I mean. So, so it's not something I would have done if I'd had access to a cheaper car, you know, that I could afford within my means. So, yeah, it's really, it doesn't give you a choice anymore. It takes away your choice.
Okay, thanks for that.
Senator Nampijinpa-Price, was that your last question?
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. I'd like to thank the witnesses